Africa Science Dialogue, closing the gap between science and society.
Now, whoever said that data is the new currency must have been onto something, because really it is. Think about this. How do you think out here we know about the chances of PSG winning a finals over Chelsea, and the bookmakers are able to, find a way to make gamblers mess up on such a day? It's using data. If we want to know something about how many children are malnutritioned in whatever area of the world, again, it's data, raw data. Somebody's got to be out there in the field. If you want probably to do any estimate of something like the efficacy of a vaccine, again, it's data, raw data. I mean, everything is about data. In this digital age, decision-making is driven by data. And we don't talk about data enough. Well, it's what drives our lives, it's what drives decisions. We don't discuss it enough, but without it, you realize there's nothing that you could be doing. You're really not aiming for something in specific. We go with numbers. You know your targets by numbers. You know where you've come from by numbers. You know if you're progressing by numbers. For that reason today, even as we deal with agricultural studies, I have with me Gabriel Macharia, who is a data management officer at the African Agricultural Technology Foundation, AATF. He has a strong passion for turning data into actionable insights and is deeply involved in managing and standardizing data for various research projects across Africa. He also mentors agri-tech startups, helping them leverage data to drive sustainable innovations. Mr. Macharia, welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
I wanted to make a joke that Mr. Macharia is here and we should have started Macharia. But here we are, finally, for our podcast. How are you?
I'm very fine, sir.
When I see you, I think mathematics, I think data, I think numbers.
Yeah, I think that is what I'm passionate about, and I talk numbers, eat numbers, and sleep numbers. I think you are not far from the truth.
It's interesting. You see, the other day I was watching the Wimbledon finals, the tennis finals, and I was thinking that every single time a new score comes up on the screen, everybody across the world who is watching understands it because there is some universality language in numbers. Everybody understands what a specific number means, and without that number, the game is worthless. In agriculture, why do numbers matter?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. And I believe that in life, generally, even without going far to agriculture, life revolves around numbers. Mm-hmm. And I feel like for you to quantify and achieve something that is substantial, there must be a track of records of where you're coming from, where you are, and where you're going. I normally call them the three sites: the hinter site, the insight, and the foresight.
Okay.
So now in agriculture, we still have to consider, that data in this particular case, because our farmers want to track their yield, they want to track their, input cost, cost of production, the next season, how they are going to manage it, and all that. And all that is data in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. And therefore, answering your question, how far with agriculture in terms of data, I can say this is something that is started time immemorial, even during the old age agricultural innovations, in the Egyptian side of it. And I feel like whatever you're asking is part and parcel of what we've been existing or living on, only that we don't just come to understand that it is data, or everything is data, mm-hmm. Be it source of input, be it production, be it the entire value chain from planting all the way to commercialization and consumption.
And I'm thinking for you, the kind of data that, or the way that you interact with data and the way a farmer does are two different things. Because I think probably the farmer is interested in the yield, is interested in the amount of seed, is interested. You would actually do data analysis at another level.
Yeah.
Can you just briefly explain what you do with data?
Yeah, I think from a specialist, it's totally different because I'm sitting from a point of observation. Farmers, they are sitting from a point of usability. Mm-hmm. They don't keep records. Most of our farmers, if I may put it for lack of a better word, they use these conventional methods of farmings and all that. So for a farmer, what is he or she is interested is the yield, the output at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. They are looking for how much is he or she going to get out of the season, maybe, mm-hmm. for example. But now for me, from where I sit at my organization, we look at the impact. It's okay, we have this technology, we have these varieties, but are they bringing impact to the farmer, or is it just another business as usual at some point? So you look at it from a point of where are we coming from, how far have we been able to achieve this, and where are we going? Is it bringing any economical sense to our farmers, or do we have another way out that can be able to introduce to them, at least to support them so that they can have food on the table and money in the pocket? So I have to look at it in terms of economic impact and also food security in Africa at the same time.
And I'm thinking, I don't know, but I would think therefore it needs to have a lot of people doing the groundwork to collect all this. But I don't know exactly where are we in Africa in terms of the data collection that will now come to your table for analysis. Where are we?
Okay, first of all, data collection is a very costly activity, to be precise. It's very costly because I've been into the field multiple times because I'm managing multiple projects, and you'll find that one of the challenges that we face as organization is the poor quality of data that is being collected. So if you're not in the field, you're not able to do data validation unless you have created a very strong data pipelines whereby you are able to do all those checks before you analyze that data and it goes to the public. Now, one of the greatest hindrance in Africa is the digital gap that we have among the farmers. And we really need to improve on that by building capacity to them so that they understand what the organization needs from them, so that they are able to adhere to the to the guidelines that are thereof, so that they can also support the organization in collecting that data. You'll agree with me if you are doing let's say one project in multiple countries and you don't have someone on ground who is up to task or who is capable of doing that work, you can be sure of that the data that will come from either of the countries will be substandard, and you'll not be able to validate. So the digital gap is one of the greatest challenges that we have. But in as far as that is concerned, we are trying to build more capacity to extension officers, the training of trainers, so that they can work with farmers and be able to help them in terms of what is needed of them by the organization who are doing research in those areas. So I feel it's something that we're looking into, and maybe by the next 10 years, 20 years, with the new age of technology, with the youth who are also interested in agriculture, we'll be able to catch up with that gap.
Yeah, I'm glad you spoke about the youth who are interested in agriculture, because that was going to be my next question. Now, you spoke about the need for farmers understanding the needs of such an organization and the data that you probably need for analysis. But we are looking at an African continent where the average age of a farmer is above 60. I do not know how much tech savvy or interested these farmers will be in, adapting to these technologies and ways of collecting data for your usage. How do you deal with that struggle, or is it even there?
Wow, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, you'll find that our parents, as you have mentioned, the age gap of most of the farmers in Africa is between, let's say, 45 to 60. And they're not tech savvy. So the whole idea is to integrate technology with agriculture, where youth are most interested. And as AATF, we are looking forward even to having digital hubs or agricultural hubs where we can invite youth who have agricultural ideas to come and showcase it, like the Lions Den, where they can be able to bring their ideas and we motivate them. So now from there, when the youth sees other youths, promoting agriculture and practicing agriculture, it is easier for them to adopt, because the issue here with most of the youth is the adoption of the agriculture, because they feel like this is something that does not bring any economical value at some point, because our parents have been used to this method of conventional methods of farming, monocropping. There is no food that is coming from those areas. It's just for subsistence, and it doesn't make sense for us as youth. So the key mandate that I personally, who have been involved in that sector, is we are trying to bring more youth into agriculture by creating synergy, something that can be able to attract them so that they can be able to use the skills they have, in the field or in the farm, so that they can be able to see how able can they, produce more apart from just consumption in this particular case. Otherwise, if we rely on our mothers and our fathers who are at the age of 45 to 60, it is going to be a challenge for uptake, in terms of uptake.
Okay. Now, when we speak about Africa and data collection, and I think there is a lot of data that's needed from the smallholder farmers, You spoke about the digital gap. Do you notice also a gap between different countries and their capacities? I know you spoke briefly about that. And how big is the gap between the countries that you feel are most efficient in provision of this data or going around these data collections and ones that are not? And how does that probably hamper your continental efforts to kind of try and, work in a seamless way intra-country or something?
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. I feel Africa is in its own different capacity in terms of infrastructure, and one of the greatest gap when it comes to technology and digitalization in agriculture is we have countries at this particular point where some rural areas don't have electricity, they don't have power. And even internet connectivity and penetration, you'll find that most of the countries don't have that capacity. We cannot talk of digital agriculture without talking about digital infrastructure. Now, Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana, and some Arab countries in the sub-Saharan like Egypt and Algiers, and some Tunisia and Morocco, they are more developed when it comes to, let's say, mobile penetration, digital infrastructures, and some of them. But now, ask yourself, we are 54 countries in Africa. How are we going now to support other countries that don't have such infrastructure? So there is something that is going on with AUD and EPAD in terms of data sharing, whereby if something has worked in a particular country, we can adopt it, in the next country instead of going the what do you call it, the natural way of commercializing, going through policy dialogues and all those kind of stuff, because it delays the adoption of the technology in this particular case. So we need to urge the government in this case to invest more when it comes to infrastructure, because you'll find that a country like let's say Malawi, if you compare the infrastructure of Malawi and Kenya, those are two different things. But not because the government cannot be able to help them in one way or the other to penetrate in those areas. I think it is the priority focus that need to be discussed, maybe in the national level, whereby the policy, the policy enablers who are in charge of driving these efforts to communicate effectively to the policy makers or to the people who are in charge of making those policy to work, such that we can be able to harness the development of those infrastructure. Then the adoption will become easier, because you're talking of, you have a mobile application that maybe sends weather forecast, and you want someone who is in South Sudan to use the same technology, and they don't have internet, they don't have electricity to charge that mobile. Even the mobile itself have not been able to reach to those places. So how do you integrate digitalization and digital infrastructure in Africa, where other places are insufficient when it comes to resources?
Wow, many problems, more problems than just data transportability. Moving on from that question, because it seems the gap needs, like you say, a lot of interventions from governments and change of policies, and actually even the thought process, looking at the end product. If today I told you our city is on fire, seated here right next to you, it's easy for you to dispute it and say, no, show me evidence, and I would have to prove it. For data, for numbers, sheer, visible, pure graphs and numbers, do you face misinformation and disinformation, and of course the way anti-scientists and pseudoscientists just come out to dispute things without evidence? Do you usually bring out data that shows a certain kind of progression maybe in agriculture, and you have people saying, no, this is a lie, even when the numbers so clearly show a pattern? Do you have such instances?
Yeah, I think and I think you're correct, because you'll find that most researchers, sometimes they use what you call pseudo data. Sometimes when they are simulating their research, they've not gone on ground to collect that data and understand the real issues that are happening on ground, And if you are a person who have traveled and you do a lot of research, you'll understand that when you see something talking about a particular area or maybe a particular crop, for example, that you understand so well, because we say you must be an expert in your own area, you can be able to detect the anomalies in that particular case, and you'll say no, there need to do a data validation concerning this particular research. So in such a situation, what you can only do is to understand the ecological zones of different places. Maybe, for example, if it is a particular crop like cassava, you know how it performs in a certain area. And when you see a publication that has been made maybe from a particular journal, you can be able maybe to question, the quality of the analysis, the quality of the report, and, do what we call close validation, which is normally happens when it comes to data quality at some point. So that's a key metric that you cannot miss when it comes to the efficiency and the sufficiency of information that is going to the public. Yes.
Wow. Now about you, yeah, because definitely we can talk about that a lot. And we have the ABBC coming up next month in Zambia, Lusaka, and we are talking about misinformation and disinformation in science. And you can say, even in sheer raw numbers, people will find a way to corrupt everything and try to come without sufficient evidence to convince you that these guys didn't do a good job in collecting these numbers. But now coming to you, because you speak numbers, you sleep numbers, you walk numbers, you everything, your background now. Did you always do numbers? Were you always sleeping numbers as a child? How did it come that you finally found yourself doing agriculture, numbers within agriculture? Tell us, how did it start?
That is interesting. I was not a data person before. But I can say my background is in mathematics and computer science. So I loved mathematics quite a lot, actually. It was my best subject, in fact, in both high school and primary school. I performed the best, actually. And then I went further to pursue masters in biomathematics, which is like pure mathematics. So I can call myself a mathematical scientist, not a data scientist, which is all numbers. But I think after campus, I wanted to become a software developer. So I did a little bit of web development. I did some courses in Italy. And then still I couldn't get some niche in terms of that area. So I started getting interest into data science. And one time, I think a few years ago, I got a chance to do an intern in one of the companies in South Korea called Data Glacier. And after that, I realized, this is something I love. I love numbers. I love mathematics naturally. So there are things I could understand, Python models, supervised and unsupervised kind of methods. And I was like, this is something I would like to pursue. And then along the way, when I joined Strathmore to pursue my master's in biomathematics, it really now shoots on the roof. It became parabolic for me to just get interest into modeling, machine learning, and a lot of simulations when it comes to scenarios.
What's usually funny is the kind of attitude people have towards general sciences and STEM. And when we talk about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, there is the perception that it's very difficult. I spoke to a friend of mine who told me they don't really like science, and I asked them, I just decided to ask them, do you think science affects your day-to-day life? And they said no. They don't see it that way. Now, you're talking about mathematics that might be seen as the layman as something completely difficult, and yet saying that a farmer himself needs to be able to understand data to some level. Yeah. How do you explain to somebody out there that no matter how bad this mathematics seemed, a lot of people didn't like mathematics in school, in agriculture, if you want to be a farmer, in everything else, you have to encounter it even in the rawest form, even at the lowest level somewhat. You can never really run away from it. I don't know, what nexus do you create between the mathematics everybody is running from and the fact that wherever they are running into, even in agriculture, like in my place, a lot of people who do agriculture are people who are farming, just smallholder of my age, are people who probably didn't proceed with school.
Yeah.
But they are the same people who need to know these kinds of information.
Yeah.
So, in essence, they are coming back to study mathematics or something. how would you tell this person that you can never run away from mathematics, you need to embrace this, you probably need to tell your children that this is important? How do you make people love mathematics and know that it's a part of their life wherever they are?
Yeah, I think if we start from here, life is a mathematical language by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Life is a mathematical language by itself. For us to have this meeting, we set time, we set dates, we said we'll do this before this long, for example. And now talking to a farmer who think that mathematics is a foreign language, or maybe perhaps they have never gone to school in this particular case, you have to introduce it in a more palatable way for them to digest what you want to tell them. Because, for example, for a farmer to calculate their maybe earning revenue in terms of profit and loss, they have to document every single receipt they buy items. They have to keep those records somewhere. I bought this particular item and all that, so that they can be able to see the profit and the loss margin after the harvest and the selling of the yields. Now, how do you tell them that this is important for their growth and also for their understanding whether the particular crop they are growing is bringing value, economical values to their household? So one of the key method we use is to work with extension farmers who they are more learned and they are more exposed into these things, and it is easier for them to work with the CBOs. We call them community-based organization, where now they build capacity on the importance of keeping records. Because sometimes these farmers, they would like to take a loan from the financial institution, but they would like to access their previous or periodical earnings from the previous season. They have been farming and they don't have that record. So how do you tell them that this is important for you in terms of access crediting to the financial institution? So you have to bring something that is connected to value, because where there is no value, the farmer will not be able to invest. So ideally, just to make it more feasible for the farmers to adopt it, you have to show them that we need you to do this because it will benefit you in one way or the other in terms of accessing these financial institutions and something of the sort. Yeah. Then talking of also the insurance companies, nowadays you'll find and you can agree with me, Peter, that some situations or some areas we do experience natural catastrophic issues where the maybe crops are affected, and the farmers maybe experiences what we call 90% loss of the input, for example, or even the crops and all that. But now, if we have records that shows in the previous season how the farmer has been performing, it's easier to even give that data to the insurance company, who can be able to simulate scenarios and see how much can we compensate this farmer just in case such situations happens. Yeah.
Okay. And now, if you were to talk to somebody who is probably struggling, like you said, when you started, you didn't have that niche, you didn't see that niche, and you had to find a way, will you tell them to continue doing something related with data, and how will you convince them that it's going to be relevant for them?
Wow. I think data is life. I always say data is life for myself. In this case, because leave alone you being employed or working as a data person, you need to keep record of your own stuff. You need to keep record of your maybe revenues. Maybe you need to keep records of your project that you are working on, just in case it works or doesn't work at the same time. And I feel like we should embrace this whole idea of understanding how the system works, because every day is a calculated it's a calculated time. For example, a day has 24 hours, 1,440 minutes. So how do you live up to the maximum without even organizing your own self? Now, someone who may be desiring to come into the data science, I normally categorize it in 3 components. So we have the business aspect, we have the mathematical aspect, and we have the programming aspect. So you start from the lowest level, which is data analysis, just statistics, Then you upgrade to understand the business. How does business work? The business intelligence. How do market analysis works? How do you, do psychological analysis, behaviors on your own customers and something of the sort, the scenario, the environment. And then now we come to the programming aspect, whereby now after collecting data, understanding the business argument, Now, how do you simulate those scenarios to have a prediction or a forecast in that particular case? So programming has to come in. You must understand statistics for you to know whether this one is significant or insignificant. You must be able to just know the basic correlation, all those small maybe basic understanding of mathematics that will help you now to make what you call mathematical argument from the data, because numbers don't lie. That's what you always say. So how do you argue with the data, in fact, so that you can be able to see whether they are making sense or not, or no sense? So you must have 3 sections or 3 components. That is the business intelligence bit of it. You must understand mathematics critically, maybe that is statistics and some of the stuff. And then the last one is programming, and I recommend maybe languages like Python and R script and many others that are upcoming, but just start from somewhere, understand the basics, and then you continue to grow with the time.
Okay. It sounds like you're saying that we are all data scientists in a way, like we are in data in a way because we have to plan our days and everything. It also sounds like there's a lot that needs to be done for one to be a proper data scientist out there. And of course, I think for every lucrative thing, you have to really work hard to get there. And it also sounds like you're saying it is really a good opportunity. There's a huge opportunity for those who want to study data science.
Yeah.
Now, going back to the farmers, how will a farmer know that the data that's presented to them is inaccurate or false?
Well, thank you for that question, because ideally you find that farmers, they understand their game. Like you can't come and tell a farmer that a particular variety is performing better than what they are used to, because they are the one who are on ground. Like for example, when you're introducing a particular variety, they'll have to test. There's something we call confined field trials, the CFTs. And there's another one that we call the NPTs, National Performance Trials. So you have to do those 2 before you commercialize a certain product to go to the public. And when you're doing the National Performance Trials, you work with farmers. So you must have the what we call the commercial checks, or what you call the conventional varieties that they are used to, or the best performing varieties that they have, and then you rank it, beside whatever variety that you're introducing. So a farmer will see, by all means, that this one is performing better than what I'm used to. So ideally, it's like an open check whereby a farmer knows what is good for them. And when you're introducing something new that is performing different from what they're used to, they can be able to tell and say, by the way, this one has issues of A, B, C, D, but it also has its own advantages at the end of the day. So I feel like most farmers know how to read that. They can be able to tell which one is good and which one is not. And of course, with the time, you can be able to convince them based on maybe the marketability and some of these issues that we face in terms of adoption. Because one of the greatest challenges that we have with farmers when a new product has been released into the market, it is the marketability of that product. It's okay, it is performing in the field, but do we have traction for consumers? How the farmer can be able to even farm 90 hectares, 100 hectares, but where is he going to take this product to make money out of it? So there is that tug of war, and I feel like scientists also need to look at the business aspect of every technology that they are developing, because we need to do market analysis first before even we introduce what you call these varieties into the market. Exactly.
Wow. There are a few groups I would like you to talk to. One, the students, who I think you've spoken a little bit to and spoken about but in a most straightforward way. Somebody, why should you do data science? Probably you answer that question. And then 2, to the farmer, why data matters to them, and why, and probably the way they should have confidence in what you're doing, and they should sit back and relax and know that there's work happening out here.
Yeah.
And 3, you spoke about policymakers and the gaps that are there. So looking into that camera, probably just straightforward to the student who is doing data science. I want to assume I'm seated somewhere thinking of data science, but I don't really know exactly what it entails. So what basically is data science in a very brief line, and why should you do it?
Yeah, so to all the students or the aspiring upcoming data scientists and data analysts, data science is not a foreign language. I know it is something that has not been there in the past decades. It's a new niche and a new focus in this particular case. And looking forward the development of the new technology, looking into the fintech, agri-tech, and health tech, there is a huge gap of data analysts. And data scientists is just part of the component that we're talking about here, but we have data engineers, we have data analysts, we have machine learning engineers, we have AI engineers. So, and with the new age of AI, we really need to take that opportunity because there is a huge gap, and we require people who are tech savvy, technical people who can be able to understand how to use these tools and to make most use of it. So therefore, I'm encouraging you that as your senior, I've been able to see the beauty of being a data scientist, the opportunities that are out there, something that I never thought that would take me to multiple countries because I thought it was an in-house job like IT. But I can say that there is many opportunities, and most of them are looking for you. So therefore, build your capacity, be focused, and be consistent. To our farmers who are really asking whether data is very important, I would like to say that our mom and dads and my brothers and sisters who are looking into the farming activities, it is really important to keep records. We want farmers who are enlightened in Africa, farmers who can be able to speak about numbers out there for the progress they have made in life, and most importantly, the growth they have achieved over the past years, and to also promote the product that are being developed by our scientists by, arguing in terms of numbers and facts, so that we can be able to have, large adoptions and also scalability of our product, because we want farmers to have money in the pocket and food on the table. Therefore, it's not just business as usual. So we are encouraging also the stakeholders, the input supplies, what do we call them? Our institution, financing institution, who normally comes in to support the farmers, to also margin in terms of supporting our farmers to keep records so that they can be able to benefit from them. To our policy enablers, people who drive these policies, we would like to also enhance in terms of promoting these ideas to our government, our states, so that they can be able to adopt these ideas in a more intrinsic way, because we find that we are lacking records. We are lacking records or numbers that can be able to showcase that we need these policies in agriculture, because there's nothing to show that are feasible to them. Therefore, we would like to encourage them. We work with scientists, we work with farmers who are on ground, who understand the system better, who have, experiencing these challenges, and they can be able to air them out to us, so that we can document them in a more proper way, that the government can be able to understand and find a way on how to, build these infrastructures, bring these innovations to the rural areas, so that at least when the scientists bring this development, they find a well-laid infrastructure that can be able to catalyze the uptake and the adoptions of this technology. Otherwise, the future is luminous, and I'm so happy to wish you all the best.
Amazing. Do you have anything else to add?
My takeaway short is that data is life, and please make sure that you keep record of your day-to-day activities. In the long run, you'll be able to see that mathematics is easy, and it is part of it.
And this is also in agriculture, where Africa's very many smallholder farmers are benefiting from the data analysis you're doing, and themselves also improving on how they keep their own data. Amazing. Now, when you project the future, like we say in 2050, Africa will be a continent of 2.5 billion people. That's a projection that's, of course, a result of data. You draw a graph, and then you do some extrapolation, and you can try and see, based on so many factors, why it's going to be in those many years. The world economies, as we try to see where they will be in 2050, looks like there will be some shifts at the top, and they're all dependent on data. And this informs policy, informs so many things, with so many factors put into consideration as you project the future. And this is what's being done for farmers as well. And they need the data as much as the data analysts need the data, because if we have a certain target to hit, and that target is defined by data, then we have to make sure that our data is in order. We know where we have come from, how we have come to this point, and how we can change the trajectory. It's all about data, 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 data. We will definitely be talking more about this data and exactly how we can use the data for our benefit, especially in this continent of Africa. And that is why on the Africa Science Dialogue, we keep the conversations going, talking about all of science in every sciencey possible way. Thank you for joining us for today's podcast, and thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel, for being here with us.
Thank you for
We want to have you again so we can talk about much more on data next time. Next time now we'll be going into the technical part of it, and you will be bringing to us some of the files you're working with or something, and showing us some of those complex graphs and codes and everything. So thank you very much for joining us for this podcast. Until next time, my name is Peter Theuri.
Africa Science Dialogue, closing the gap between science and society.